My wonderful, beautiful, amazing Sagittarius. Even though we're pretty much currently in Scorpio season, the season that comes after this one is yours. But anyway, I'm Gabriella from Gabriella's Vampire Tarot. I'm going to be doing your general reading, your past, present, future 9-card spread. I'm going to be using the regular tarot deck, clarify with the vampire deck, draw a special vampire card, draw a vampire oracle, and finish off with 3 yes or no answers for thee. But before we proceed with, your reading, I just want to thank you all so very much for your love, support, and for even attending my October 31st, virtual performance with the human pianist playing the Danse Macabre. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, but I really, felt your love and support while I was, also, performing and stuff like that. But anyway, so I just kind of wanted to throw that out before we got started. But I also want to thank you all for your support, for even, subscribing to my channel, for, even, acknowledging me as your vampire tarot reader and welcoming into your life, stuff like that. But anyway, and the general card for today is the 9 of Pentacles reversed. Let's look at the first row. You start off with the Hanged Man reversed, 5 of Cups reversed, so you have a lot of Pisces, maybe some Cancer or Scorpio placements, even though we're currently in Scorpio season. And then you get the King of Pentacles reversed. Yeah, it just looked like that, especially I'm just kind of worried, about your whole finances, because the general thought is like, even the first card of the Vlad Dracula, this is kind of like the general card, even, in any way, but it feels like that you just don't feel abundant. You feel like that maybe you've suffered, some some financial loss, or maybe in other ways where you just feel kind of like, my finances aren't doing so well. Because here, especially, because normally with the Hanged Man upright, it's like how you're pretty much, just doing a lot of introspection, self-reflection. You're having a general overview of maybe your finances or your strategic planning and stuff like that. But here, it's pretty much how you feel incredibly restless, but yet you're kind of still overcoming some kind of disappointment. So I wonder if you may have actually been misled, or maybe, just send off on a fool's gold kind of hunt where you pretty much just got, maybe, got, wrong information and stuff like that from, any kind of financial institutions and stuff like that. Because here it's like you're not living in any, abundant, and this is kind of also feeling incredibly, imbalanced, because normally, when you think about Earth, it needs to be balanced so you can walk on it, or even just, feel, comfortable about it. But if you pretty much just feel like, your King of Pentacles is in reverse, it's kind of like, a major loss of some kind, or maybe being misled, or something contributed, even though you're trying to actually, just, recover from any kind of disappointing event that took place, especially in the past. Because in current times, you're reluctant with the 4 of Cups to, to embrace any kind of help or guidance and support. And then it led you off towards the Moon reversed of not going out on any kind of voyages. But here you are actually waiting maybe for a financial, helper, or the Knight in Shining Armor to eventually show up for you. So maybe, it's like you're in the current phase of actually thinking, okay, we're kind of processing whatever happened with our finances in the past, but right now we're actually not going to be accepting any kind of help because we're waiting for something way better to show up. And sometimes, patience can be a real, big nightmare on so many ways, because you just wonder, well, when is it going to show up? When am I going to actually, see my Knight in Shining Armor? Maybe, a really good financial advisor, or maybe somebody who has been down that same road and really knows how to actually help you out in other ways, right? But yeah, I can just understand, if something may have contributed in the past that, you're pretty much, just kind of thinking, I don't want any kind of help right now. Because it just seems like in the past few readings of yours, it's been about, a lot of finances and stuff like that. So, but maybe, in the meantime, because you do get the Moon reversed of not going out any kind of voyages or quests, is to actually, maybe, just open up like a financial, manual, or any kind of like economics book, or even any kind of like, title, sometimes, even my human familiar was talking about some of these, books called, This Topic for Dummies and stuff like that. Maybe you can open up a book like that and see, with all the pictures and all, the guidance and the support that other people can probably offer you, while you're waiting for this Knight in Shining Armor to help out. So at least that would be my suggestion. Because in the future, you get the 8 of Wands reversed, no movement. The 2 of Pentacles reversed, you feel overwhelmed. And then you do get the Emperor, Aries energy. Being in a structured, and maybe, this is what you kind of crave, is you want to be in a structured, mindset, because maybe from all the waiting, you feel like that there's no movement, and you're just kind of sitting there just feeling overwhelmed by, the tense, feeling of having to wait for any kind of guidance and support to help. So here you are still trying to actually, it will maybe go about your daily routine of thinking, well, we're going to have to do something. We can't just sit here and just, we'll let, time, will pass by, yeah, because, we just can't allow ourselves just to be, stuck to hell, just sitting here doing nothing and stuff like that. So I just either see you trying to mend, any kind of like financial problems. Maybe you are opening up a book of some kind, or at least, you're actually, going about your, daily routine while you're waiting for the Knight of Pentacles to show up. So, but off to clarification we go. Because the Hangman reversed, yes, you got the Tower. So there was some big change that contributed, and maybe that's why, well, it made you already feel kind of restless because of this big change. Yeah. I mean, the Tower is not always everybody's favorite, even though it's actually one of my cards, and actually I see 2 Aries cards in today's reading. But, this is pretty much also a way to see how you can mend any kind of financial problems, for example, or any kind of, situation for that matter. Even though you feel restless and stuff like that, well, the best way to go about it is to try to keep as balanced as possible and just think, okay, we've experienced maybe some kind of setback, maybe a recession, maybe you were actually misled, or what have you in other ways. So I can understand how that could put anybody in a restless, mindset or position in other ways as well. But this is interesting because, you're overcoming some form of disappointment and recovering from it, and you're keeping yourself balanced with justice. So I find this is a beautiful, beautiful combination, just like how I even mentioned beforehand. Because here's the thing, it's, it's pretty much, it's like you're experiencing some big, maybe, some crisis moment, but the best way to go about any kind of crisis moment for that matter is to try to stay as calm as possible. Don't get emotional, don't get angry, don't get scared, don't get frustrated. I know it's easier said than done, but try to ground yourself with all of your past memories if possible, or any kind of guidance or support that you once upon a time received from other people, and to say, okay, it's like, well, how did I react back then and stuff like that. So, but it's always good to kind of keep yourself as calm as possible. If you suddenly, get all of these invoices that say you have, only 24 hours to pay this big bill that you can't even afford, oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. Keep calm. Maybe you have to reach out to these people. Maybe you have to talk to a financial advisor. Maybe talk to your friends, your family, whoever you trust and value the most, and see, how you can go about it. But don't immediately start running around in circles thinking, oh my goodness, I only have 24 hours? Because, you might feel, imbalanced, or you might feel like you've, suffered, some, big financial loss. But then you get the Lord of Knives, also known as the King of Swords. So here you are actually creating an excellent plan, even though you might feel incredibly imbalanced. So I feel like that all the information that I just mentioned is kind of a bit superfluous, but I always feel like, if these cards don't show up, that I always feel, the need to think, okay, it's like, how are we going to get out of a situation like this? Let's say that you get all of these, messages, around 4:30 in the evening, on a Friday, evening, and then they say, yeah, well, you have until Monday to do this and that, and you just think, well, there goes my beautiful, precious weekend. But here you are actually, maybe experiencing some kind of like financial problem and stuff like that, but here you are still planning. So I think, your mindset is incredible. So please don't give up. Because you feel hesitant about this offering, but then you get the 9 of Pentacles upright, which I think is very beautiful, because here you are actually thinking, okay, we may be, reluctant to be embracing this kind of offering, stuff like that, but, do we want to be in the 9 of Pentacles upright? So, but of course, it's like, I would just be very, very cautious when it comes to any kind of like offerings, and stuff like that. I feel like that this week for all of zodiacs up until you for now, it's pretty much just based off of how there's some kind of deception going on. Because I just feel like, there's this beautiful offering that's being, offered to you, and to say, oh, don't you want to be living in a beautiful, lavish 9 of Pentacles, abundant lifestyle for that matter? All you have to do is just accept this, this chalice, stuff like that. But of course, there's some strings attached to it, but we don't have to think about that right now. Just think about, the 9 of Pentacles, about buying a new car maybe, or maybe, just, going out to dinner, or maybe, celebrating something. Just think about this beautiful card without even having to think about, the 4 of Cups in other ways. Because with the moon reversed, of actually not heading down any kind of voyage, you get the Seven of Pentacles. Now, it could be on one note, if you were to ignore such a Nine of Pentacles offering and stuff like that, maybe it is actually putting you in a Seven of Pentacles of thinking, well, there's also hesitation involved by also, rejecting that offering. But I would always look into any kind of offerings, always look at the fine print, ask as many questions possible, have everything written in stone. So then, if something were to go wrong and stuff like that, then you can go back to the person and say, hey, you misled me. You kind of gave me this false information, right? But the problem is, it's like, a lot of people, it's like you have to be so incredibly cautious when it comes to any kind of like offerings or anything that seems too good to be true and stuff like that. Because maybe, it's like, let's say that you do accept that offering. It also puts you in a sense of actually no movement, no journeys, and also hesitation as well. So I think with any kind of offerings, I would definitely, will be very cautious about it, because it's like how the predator will approach the prey. You don't have to be an actual wolf or a vampire to be a predator. You could just be a human and be a predator, as we probably all have come across, right, in other ways. So, but as you're waiting with the Knight of Pentacles, you are struggling with the Five of Wands, maybe some conflict or maybe some competition, but I feel like that, this waiting is actually putting a lot of stress and pressure in your life, and maybe that's kind of what's, causing you to struggle with internal conflicts with yourself. So, yeah, I mean, it just feels like that. Well, today's reading is kind of a bit of more or less a silver lining, kind of, a positive reading, and not just immediately, oh yeah, you'll get abundance and stuff like that in other ways. I mean, I hope the best for everybody. I mean, if this reading doesn't resonate, hopefully, you're in a very beautiful, rich, successful, like, grounded and realistic, stable contract, job in other ways. But here you are pretty much waiting, but you are probably also struggling as well. Because maybe, you're being presented with all these offerings, but you're kind of also being hesitant about offerings, and that's why, you're waiting for the Knight in Shining Armor to show up to, hey, will guide you towards the best possible outcome. Though, with the Eight of Wands, there's no movement. Well, you get the Fool, Aquarius, so now I see you finally taking a leap of faith in the future, because maybe you're done kind of waiting for people. And well, maybe, it's like people are on holiday. Maybe there's some kind of, or maybe the, your financial advisor or banker is sick, for like a week or something, what have you, in other ways. So here I do actually see you either on one side taking, initiative and say, we're just going to take this risk. But on the other side, it's what you also, will, want to do in the future as well. Because whenever I draw these future cards, it's usually your subconscious of what you want, dream, wish, or desire, or what you're worried about. So, and I feel like that, you're pretty much just waiting, and then you pretty much just think, you know what, let's just, we'll go about it ourselves and see how far we can get there. Because, if you feel overwhelmed in the future, I do see the sun shining in your favor, even though we're pretty much in darker times right now. But the sun is pretty much, your confidence as saying, okay, we may be feeling a bit overwhelmed. Maybe you are opening up a textbook. Maybe you are actually taking an economics course and stuff like that. Here you are just struggling and trying to understand, all of the real, technical details about contracts or all of these, terms that you probably never heard about in your life. But I do see confidence within you. Or at least the sun is shining in the act of clarity and stuff like that as well. So I feel like if you are going to take this risk, yes, it pretty much just shows that you are kind of overwhelmed by this whole risk taking, like in a voyage that you're going down in the future, but the sun will definitely shine in your favor. And with the Emperor of wanting to actually keep up with your routine, maybe you are going to be, dealing with an authoritative father figure, maybe, whoever it may be, or maybe this is also, your structured mindset, you get Lovers. Opening up the crossroads of options and opportunities so you can actually finally, understand how to go about, your finances, any kind of financial problems that you could be struggling with in current times, maybe even the future as well. So, but anyway, I would always, just look at any kind of like crossroads, any kind of offerings, any kind of like Four of Cups offerings. If something just seems too good to be true, where it pretty much just shows that it seems unrealistic. It's like how these loan sharks are considered, predators as well, because they say, oh yeah, we'll lend you money, and there's this real beautiful, price to pay in return, and it comes with interest, and it comes with all of these other tiny little details. But let's not think about that right now. Because, yeah, you get the Seven of Swords in the future, and this is kind of what I'm worried about, is that, you could be faced with, some kind of deception taking place. And then I want to kind of move quickly over towards, Oracle as well, because this kind of feels like that it's enhances, well, my, senses in this reading, because it says, witness to no personal evidence and to speak out. So if you are dealing with some kind of, deceptive person, is I would really, start contradicting, that person, and maybe even, we end up in an argument with them to prove, that, what they're doing is wrong and incorrect, and how you pretty much just feel like you don't want to be deceived or being, misled and stuff like that. Because that could also be the Knight of Pentacles waiting for somebody to show up, and then you just deal with, nothing but, conflicts with that person to say, how dare you even, send me down this wrong road? Because, the Four of Cups is like a, a loan shark saying, here, it's like, don't you want to have money and stuff like that? And then once you embrace it, then yes, you get the Nine of Cups, but then you also get the, the Moon in reversed and the Seven of Pentacles afterwards as well. So, I would definitely, voice your opinions, voice your concerns, your complaints, what have you, in other ways, because, you could be dealing with the Seven of Swords in the future sometime. But it could also be something that you're worried about, so I would definitely look into that. But anyway, I'm going to finish off with 3 yes or no answers. Please feel free to pause this video and think about the questions you want answered. For number 1, you get a no with the Ace of Cups reversed. You get a yes for number 2 with the Page of Wands. And then you get another yes with the Queen of Cups upright, so at least you get 2 yeses and 1 no for today's reading. My beautiful Sagittarius, I'm going to have to leave it at this, but if this video resonated for anybody out there, please, feel free to join and subscribe to my channel. But again, I want to thank you all so much for your love, your support, your devotion for attending October 31st. I love you guys incredibly. I want to wish you all the best of luck on where this journey may take you. In a few days, I'm going back to general love reading, so for now I'm just doing general and love. But anyway, I'm also open for personal readings. All you have to do is we'll post in the comment section below that you want a personal reading from me, and I'll respond to you with my email, and we'll start the process from there. But other than that, I love you guys, and as per usual, take excellent good care of yourselves.